That's all it was to him. Expensive, top-tier, specialty gear I'd spent years investing in, cameras, lights, rigs, editing software. Tools I treated like gold because they were how I built my business, my work, my independence. To him, it was just lying around, available, his by association. So when I walked into the garage studio that day and saw Josh, my brother-in-law, using my red camera rig without asking, balancing it carelessly on a dusty stool while he filmed his knockoff podcast intro, I lost it. Put it down, I said, instantly tense. That's not for you. He didn't flinch, didn't look guilty. He turned to me and smirked, arrogant and unbothered. What's your problem? You think you own everything around here? I blinked, stunned. I do own that. Every piece in this setup, I bought it. With my money. He scoffed like I was being dramatic. We're family. You live here. It's all kind of shared, right? I didn't even get the chance to respond before my sister, Erica, walked in from the kitchen, drying her hands with a dish towel. Savannah, she said with that tone, the one that made everything my fault. Seriously? It's not that deep. You're acting like a stranger. He didn't break anything. I stared at her. That's not the point. You don't use someone's tools without asking. Josh chimed in with a laugh. What, are you gonna invoice me? But it was Erica's next words that shattered something in me. Look, you're not exactly irreplaceable. Chill. The silence after that was sharp. Not because it was loud, but because it confirmed what I'd been trying to deny for months. They didn't respect me. They didn't value me. They saw me and all I brought as background noise. The free gear. The free rent. The free help on their channel when they begged me to just check the lighting or edit one more clip. And when I set a boundary, I was a problem. That night, I didn't argue. I didn't slam doors or demand apologies. I just waited until they went asleep. Then I drove across town to my storage unit, the one neither of them knew existed, and started organizing what was coming home. Serial numbers, purchase receipts, backup drives. Everything was cataloged, because I didn't just buy the gear. I bought control. And if they thought I was overreacting, they were about to learn the difference between sharing space and owning the foundation it was built on. I removed everything I had contributed to their studio. Lights, cables, memory cards, my main editing laptop, licensing keys, audio panels, even the boom arm Josh had broken and I'd repaired quietly. But I didn't leave it empty. What I left behind was even more damaging. A series of perfectly labeled folders on their desktop. Old emails. Partnership contracts signed under my name. Unpaid tax filings. All of it in one place. They thought I was being petty. But I was being thorough. Because this wasn't about revenge. This was about a reminder of who built this. Who maintained it. And what happens when you push the person holding the roof over your head? My name is Savannah, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because when they said I wasn't irreplaceable, I decided to show them what that actually looks like. It didn't start with resentment. It started with generosity. When Erica asked if I could help her husband Josh set up his media brand, I said yes without hesitation. She was my sister after all. He was trying to launch something, she said, a podcast, maybe a YouTube channel, maybe a lifestyle content brand. Translation, he had a dream and no idea how to execute it. I had the tools. I had the experience. I had the actual skill set. So I offered my cameras, my lights, my editing software, not as a loan, as a show of support. And in the beginning, it felt good. Like I was part of something. We filmed their intro together. I helped build their logo, even designed their thumbnail templates. When Erica asked me to help edit a batch of videos before a brand deadline, I stayed up till 4 a.m. for 3 nights in a row. I didn't ask for credit. I didn't ask for payment, because I thought this is what family does. They show up. So I kept showing up. Until one day I noticed something strange. On their website's New About Us page, I wasn't mentioned. Not once. Josh wrote that he built the studio from the ground up with nothing but vision and hustle. Vision, sure. Hustle? Maybe. But equipment, software licenses, connections? All mine. Still, I let it slide. When they got their first sponsorship deal, I celebrated with them. When they got their first brand shoot, I offered my lenses without blinking. But slowly, something shifted. Josh stopped asking before using things. Erica stopped thanking me. I'd find my SD cards scattered across the floor. Editing projects moved from my drive to theirs. One day, I caught them uploading one of my tutorial clips with his voice dubbed over it. No permission. No mention. Nothing. I brought it up gently, tried to be professional. Josh shrugged. It's all just content, right? Chill. And Erica? She sided with him. Every single time. When I expressed concerns, she accused me of being territorial. When I asked for some formal boundaries, she said, "You're making this weird. We're family." And when I told them I was going to start charging for my time and gear, that's when she dropped the line that stuck with me like splinters in my skin. "You're not exactly irreplaceable." That's when I realized they didn't see me as a partner or even a sister. They saw me as infrastructure, a plug-in, a resource, not someone essential, just someone available. That's when the switch flipped. And the woman they dismissed? She started doing what she should have done from the beginning, protecting her investment. I began collecting documentation, invoices, contracts, message threads where I'd been the only reason a deal landed, screenshots of Josh asking for one last free edit, emails where Erica promised my time as part of their full package. I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity, and they were giving it to me line by line, lie by lie. Because when someone takes what you built and slaps their name on it, you don't yell. You detach. You prepare. And then you pull the plug. When you've been dismissed long enough, you learn how to prepare in silence. That's why I had the storage unit. I rented it a year before I ever needed it. Back when I first started feeling the shift in Erica's tone, the slow creep of entitlement in Josh's eyes. I never said a word about it. But I began duplicating files, documenting serial numbers, photographing receipts. Everything that had my name on it, everything I owned, I logged and backed up. Every time Josh borrowed something without asking, I wrote it down. Every time Erica called my contributions ours, I added it to the folder labeled liabilities they'll regret. So when I drove there that night after they told me I wasn't irreplaceable, I wasn't scrambling. I was executing. I opened the unit. A clean, climate-controlled room stacked with shelves, padded crates, and labeled bins, and smiled. Because everything I needed was already waiting. I brought my van and loaded up my equipment from their garage silently. The cameras, the lenses, the stabilizers. My $2,000 lighting rig they claimed was left here by a friend. I packed the mics, audio interfaces, even the studio chair I had bought because Josh complained about his back. I left them nothing I didn't have to, except the hard drive labeled Final Draft. Inside that drive were folders they never bothered to look at because they assumed everything belonged to them. But what I left behind was a digital landmine. Folder 1. Invoices unpaid. Every service I'd rendered for free, now itemized with market rates and timestamps. Folder 2. License expires March 31st. Because the software they used every day registered under my company's account, already set to deactivate at the end of the month. Folder 3. Taxes. Their earnings spreadsheet, unreported gifted equipment, and screenshots of shady affiliate deals, compiled and organized with precision. Folder 4. Brands. PDFs of emails where I negotiated partnerships in my name, and Josh took credit. Some still ongoing. Some with breach of contract clauses. It was everything they thought they had buried under charm and delusion. And now, it was sitting right there, glowing in plain sight. I didn't hide it. I wanted them to see it, to understand what it felt like to be confronted with the truth after pretending it wasn't real. I even left a post-it on the monitor that read, "You're right. I don't own everything. Just everything that ever mattered." And then I walked out, drove back across town, unloaded the gear into my own clean, organized space, poured a glass of wine, and slept like a woman who had just returned her crown to its rightful head. Because they never saw me as a threat. I was just the helpful sister. The background asset. The soft voice they could ignore. But when I started moving, everything they stood on shook. And the best part? They hadn't even opened the files yet. But they would. Oh, they would. They didn't notice the gear was missing right away. That morning, Josh went live on Instagram to hype a major announcement. He had his followers hyped for a content drop, a new video, maybe a podcast deal. What he hadn't planned for: an empty studio. No lights. No mics. No cameras. Just a garage filled with extension cords, tripods with no heads, and a silent, blinking laptop that couldn't open any of their project files. I know, because Erica texted me 14 minutes into his meltdown. Where is all the stuff? Did you move it for cleaning or something? I didn't reply. Instead, I opened Instagram, posted a single story update to my professional account. Studio microphone. As of today, I am no longer affiliated with the channel name. All brand and business inquiries can now be directed to me directly. Stay tuned. Sparkles. No explanation. No drama. Just clarity. And that was all it took. My DMs blew up. A rep from one of the biggest podcast platforms messaged, "Wait, you are behind their editing? Their video quality? Can we talk?" A smaller tech brand replied to my story, "We've been trying to get in touch. You handled the deals, right?" I spent the next 3 hours on calls, real calls. Not family favors. Not backdoor work. Deals. Because the truth was, everyone already knew who made that content work. I was the clean cuts, the smooth audio, the professional emails, the quiet brilliance no one credited until now. Meanwhile, Erica called 3 times. Josh called twice. No voicemails. No apologies. Just desperate silence on the line. They even tried tagging me in an old photo with a forced caption. "Love our creative team. Excited to regroup and come back stronger." I reported the post. Instagram took it down for impersonation and misuse of identity. Then I sent them a formal cease and desist, written by my lawyer, addressed to their brand email. Simple. Professional. Bullet-pointed. I was no longer affiliated. Any content previously co-created was protected by copyright under my LLC. Any attempt to monetize my materials or likeness would result in legal action. No fluff. And just for fun, I added the clause they'd missed in one of our earliest brand partnership documents, the one where I retained 100% backend licensing rights on all content shot using my equipment, which meant they couldn't use anything. They couldn't re-upload. They couldn't re-edit. They couldn't even recycle old footage without risking a lawsuit. And suddenly they had nothing. No brand. No image. No gear. No goodwill. Just 2 people in a dark garage and the slow realization that the quiet girl they pushed out was the engine the entire time. They say rock bottom happens all at once. But for Erica and Josh, it played out in real time. The first hit came 2 days after my Instagram story. Josh tried to film a video on his phone, walking through their studio and claiming they were undergoing upgrades. He used natural light. His voice echoed. The shadows cut across his face like the universe itself was trying to sabotage the take. The comments section lit up. "Why does it look like a basement now? Did y'all lose your equipment? Where's Savannah?" They ignored the questions. Until they couldn't. That same week, 2 brands reached out to me directly. Both had been in deals with the channel, but only through me. When they found out I was no longer involved, they pulled out. One of them demanded a refund. Erica texted me, "Can we please talk? These brands are saying everything was under your name. We didn't realize." I blocked her. I wasn't being cruel. I was being finished. Because they didn't care when they thought I was replaceable. Now that they were fumbling through copyright strikes and losing sponsors, suddenly I mattered. Josh tried to re-upload one of the tutorial videos I'd edited, the one with my graphics, my voiceover, and my transitions. I filed a copyright claim within the hour. It was taken down within 2. He tried again, with a new watermark. I hit him with another claim. This time, YouTube issued a strike. 3 strikes and your channel is gone. He didn't try a 3rd time. Instead, he made a shaky Instagram live, voice low, hands twitching, explaining that they were rebranding and taking time to focus on family. The comments were brutal. Translation: "You lost your editor. Should have paid Savannah. This is why you don't burn the talent." How do you rebrand when you were never the brand? Erica stayed off social media for a full week. Then, quietly, their channel posted a text post. We've hit pause on content for now. Thanks for riding with us. We'll be back soon. They won't. Because, behind the scenes, everything was crumbling. 3 brands had already filed breach of contract notices. 2 invoices bounced. A small PR account even posted a screenshot from a leaked email showing Josh yelling at a brand rep for going behind his back to talk to me. That email came from the folder I left behind on their hard drive. Labeled clearly, "Read if you're feeling entitled." I don't know which of them opened it, but I know they read it, because that was the day the entire channel was scrubbed of content. Wiped clean. And just like that, 2 years of fake glitz and secondhand glory? Gone. Meanwhile, I was signing a licensing deal with a media company that wanted to use my original tutorials in their digital learning platform. Same videos Josh once called basic. Now, valued at $50,000 for exclusive use. Funny how clarity works in hindsight. They thought they were stealing my tools. What they actually stole was time. And I took it back frame by frame, file by file. And now, they couldn't record a sentence without me. Couldn't light a shot without looking like amateurs. Couldn't rebuild their brand without facing the shadow of the woman they underestimated. And that shadow was now the main character. The storm they were afraid of was the one they created. They just never thought it would arrive in the form of an envelope, or an email, or a formal audit request. See, when I left behind those labeled folders on their desktop, I wasn't being dramatic. I was giving them a grace period, a chance to own their mess. They didn't, so I passed it to someone who would. Using an anonymous email account, I forwarded the folder titled Taxes and Partnerships to 2 addresses. The IRS tip line, a corporate compliance officer from a brand they faked invoices with. It took less than a week. Josh's inbox lit up first, flagged emails, urgent notifications, request for tax documentation for 2021, 2022, and the current quarter. Erica's phone buzzed nonstop. They were officially being investigated for unreported income, fraudulent deductions, and illegal use of personal equipment claimed as business-owned. Equipment like mine, which I'd already reclaimed, and documented as not business property. I sat at my kitchen counter, scrolling through screenshots people started sending me. Girl, is this about your sister? Check Reddit. Did you see this thread on creator scams? Their tax drama is all over now. Some anonymous account, probably a disgruntled intern or ex-sponsor, had leaked DMs, voice messages, and emails from their old partnership portal. Josh demanding free products. Erica pretending to be their content manager, me. False numbers sent to brands. Even a pitch deck I had designed with my watermark still on slide 3. I didn't need to say a word. The internet did it for me. One post in particular went viral. Turns out the quiet girl behind the camera was the reason the whole brand worked. She left, and now they're facing legal heat, no clients, and no clue. Another user commented, "You don't kick the builder out of the house, and then act surprised when the walls fall." Exactly. They had built their empire on my silence. Now, that silence was weaponized, not in hate, but in evidence. Days later, Erica posted a Notes app apology on Instagram. We made mistakes. We took people for granted. We're cooperating fully with the audit and doing everything we can to move forward with honesty and accountability. Translation? We got caught. Josh? Still no public word. But privately, he sent me an email. Subject: talk. Just that. No body. No apology. No explanation. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my attorney. Let him handle it. Because this wasn't my cleanup job anymore. It never should have been. They were the ones who forged fake influence, leveraged my labor, and ran a shady brand on the backbone of my work. And now, they were watching it all collapse, not because I destroyed it, but because I stopped holding it up. I'd warned them. I gave them years. And when they said I wasn't irreplaceable, they were right. I wasn't going to be replaced. I was going to be remembered. And not as the sidekick. Not as the equipment supplier. Not as the editor or the helper. As the woman who left and took the whole illusion with her. They called me replaceable. They said I was just the girl behind the gear. They forgot something critical. I never needed the spotlight to build the stage.
But now?
The spotlight is mine. It started small, a few DMs from creators who had followed the collapse. Then came the podcast invitations. Then a request to speak on a creative tech panel titled, "Credit the Creator. Behind every successful brand is the person they forgot to mention." I almost said no. But then I remembered the years I gave without asking for credit. The nights I edited until my hands ached, just to hear my sister thank Josh in every video. So I showed up, not bitter, not angry, ready. I wore a simple black blazer and stood on that stage, not as a cautionary tale, but as a blueprint. People will use your silence to build their image, I said, until you take that silence back and use it to build something of your own. The applause? Thunderous. But that wasn't the peak. The peak came 2 weeks later, when I launched my own platform. A clean, professional, solo content brand focused on creator education, tutorials, templates, licensing rights, camera tricks, and post-production breakdowns. Everything they used to beg me to explain, now behind a paywall. The first day I opened enrollment, 3,800 people signed up. Within 72 hours, I had 5 brand sponsors. One of them, a company Erica and Josh once faked numbers to impress. They reached out to me directly. "We always knew the magic came from you. Glad you finally stepped forward." The irony? I wasn't even trying to destroy them. I was just finally building something without them. No compromise. No shared credit. No guilt. The people who said I wasn't irreplaceable were now watching me from a distance, unable to recreate even a fraction of what I'd done for them. Every post I made now trended. Every story I shared got screenshotted. And every client I signed reminded me of one thing. This is what irreplaceable feels like. It feels like sleeping without a phone buzzing with last-minute favors. It feels like walking into a shoot with equipment I bought with hands that were respected. It feels like being asked, "How did you do it?" instead of being told, "You should be grateful we let you help." And the best part? I did it all after they let me go. Their rejection wasn't my ending. It was my ignition. I'm not hiding anymore. Not behind the camera. Not behind someone else's dream. Not behind family that only knew how to take. I rebuilt from scratch, but this time I used bricks they couldn't steal and blueprints they couldn't understand. Now, when I walk into a room, I don't wonder if I'm wanted. I know I'm the reason it's full. And when someone says my name, they say it with credit, with respect, with weight. Because I'm not their assistant. I'm not the editor. I'm not the sidekick. I'm the brand. It had been 6 months since I walked away. 6 months since I stripped their studio bare, shut the doors on the chaos, and started building something that couldn't be taken. And in that time, not once did I miss them. Not the noise. Not the guilt. Not the way they looked at me like I was lucky to be tolerated. But still, I went back. Not to reconnect. To remember. The house was quiet when I pulled up. Their car was gone. The porch light flickered, a dull reminder that no one had maintained anything since the glue holding it all together had left. I let myself in with the spare key I knew they'd never bother changing. The garage was almost untouched. Same scuffed walls, same workbench with a coffee stain. But the shelf where all my gear used to sit? Empty. What remained was a box in the corner. Cardboard, dusty. Written across the top in marker. Save. Old stuff. I opened it slowly. Inside was a random mix of items. A broken tripod leg. A scratched lens cap. Some tangled cords. And sitting at the bottom, a small photo print, a still from one of our first shoots. It was me, adjusting a light while Josh posed. Uncredited. Of course. I held it for a second. Not out of nostalgia. Out of clarity. Because even in that photo, I looked like I didn't belong. Not because I wasn't supposed to be there, but because I was always meant to be somewhere else. I stood up, placed the picture on the empty shelf where my camera once sat, and pulled one final item from my coat pocket. A USB drive. I plugged it into their dusty, blinking laptop and uploaded one file. Just a short video. Black screen. White text. 14 seconds long. It read, "What I took were my things. What I left was the truth. Build what you want. Just know, it'll never stand on the shoulders you broke. I ejected the drive, left it on the keyboard, and walked out. No drama. No explosion. Just wait. Because revenge doesn't always need to be loud. Sometimes it's the silence that screams. I never heard from them after that. Not directly, anyway. But weeks later, someone sent me a screenshot. A comment Erica had left on a creator's YouTube video. Give credit to the ones behind the scenes. Trust me, they matter more than you think. Was it for show? Maybe. But that wasn't my concern anymore. I had my own projects now. Glowed, my education platform, had reached 75,000 users. I was speaking on a creator ethics panel in LA next month. I signed my first book deal, title pending, but the working draft said, "You think you own everything?" And other lies they tell you when they fear your power. And me, I sleep easy. Because what I left behind wasn't just missing equipment or cold silence. It was a message that if you build your world on the back of someone else's talent, if you take, mock, erase, and betray, and call it collaboration, the day they leave, you don't just lose a resource. You lose your foundation. And when that foundation was a woman like me, you lose everything. They thought I walked out empty-handed, but I took everything that mattered and left them with the one thing they never gave me, the truth.